Good morning, Colorado. You are listening to the Daily Sun Up. It's a conversation with the Colorado Sun. I'm team editor David Krause. Before we jump into today's conversation, here is a quick message from our sponsor.
When your number one fan is your number one threat, Stephen King's iconic thriller Misery is live on stage at the Arvada Center this fall. Tickets are on sale today, running September 4th through October 11th. Visit arvanacenter.org for tickets today. Support comes from Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. CHFA sponsors homebuyer education in English and Spanish and offers down payment assistance. Visit chfainfo.com/yourhome. CHFA is an equal housing lender.
Now, back to the show. Happy Monday, everybody, and thanks for listening. This is David Krause. It has been almost 5 years since Colorado Governor Jared Polis stood on an overlook in a remote area of Garfield County to announce plans for Colorado's perhaps 43rd state park that would be at Sweetwater Lake. Today, outdoors reporter Jason Blevins joins me to talk about some potential options that were announced recently for that area. Hello, Jason Blevins.
Hello, David Krause.
All right, JB, it's been a minute since the governor announced that this area in far reaches of Garfield County would be perhaps a state park. Remind listeners about how that came out and some of the hubbub around it.
Yeah, boy, quite a bit of hubbub. So Polis stood up there and said, we are about to unveil the 43rd state park. Everybody's jaws kind of dropped. They had no clue that this was going to be a state park. They just knew there was a campaign called Save the Lake. The lake had been eyed by private developers for a few decades, golf courses, private homes, all that sort of thing. And the White River National Forest, using Land and Water Conservation Fund, help from the Conservation Fund and Eagle Valley Land Trust, bought 488 acres of private land, made it National Forest managed land, and forged a one-of-a-kind partnership with Colorado Parks and Wildlife to manage the land around the lake. Forest Service budgets are tight. The idea was that CPW would be managing it. It was a bit of a surprise to hear that it would be a state park. One of the more unique situations out there in Sweetwater is that the Sweetwater Lake is adjacent to a community. Several dozen people lived out there forever. It's very beautiful, bucolic, quiet area that has really been removed from a lot of the development in the Eagle River Valley. It's very quiet back there and just single lane road in and out sort of thing, and dirt road. And it's a beautiful spot adjacent to the Flat Tops Wilderness. And so as this process began, that was October 21, a lot of public comments, Forest Service people meeting with the local community, really hammering out a plan. The locals were saying, please don't turn this into Sylvan Lake State Park, 100,000 visitors a year. We can't handle that. It's too small. It's too remote. Please don't make it that. Forest Service comes in. They look at all the old buildings that haven't been maintained for many, many years around the lake, and they closed the lodge and they closed cabins, saying there were safety issues. So very, very contentious. The community's working with the Forest Service. Forest Service launches what it turned out to be a 2.5 year environmental review of what it could do at that park. That draft environmental impact statement just came out, outlined a series of options that could be done, and the community is unpleased with some of the options, which would sort of add some development, some campgrounds and things like that, and really accommodate larger crowds at the remote lake back there in Garfield County.
Jason, dig into that a little bit deeper for us. They threw out 4 potential options. Give us the highlights.
Yeah, 4 alternatives. One is do nothing. Don't give the special use permit to CPW, and just no new investment. Keep the existing buildings, and just don't do anything, and handle what's about they get 30-40 people a day, usually during the summer, not even that many really, and very quiet in the winter. And the alternative that the Forest Service would like to pursue is a 20-year permit for CPW, capping visits, trying to keep visitors limited to around 250 a day. New lodge, kind of smaller lodge, watercraft rentals, equestrian center, rustic cabins, horse trailers, and administrative area, employee housing. And that's what the Forest Service is hoping to do. A third alternative would kind of be a little more primitive, closer to the sort of the middle ground between do nothing and grow. And then a fourth alternative would allow for room to grow even beyond that 250. So there's 4 options there, and they're all, the community out there is they feel as though they haven't really been listened to. And I've been meeting with those folks for 5 years now. And they're concerned about their quiet community and developing this place into, a giant state park, and what that would mean with traffic and trailers and all the things. And there's a long-term horse outfitter out there that's been bringing folks on horseback out into the wilderness for decades, and she's very concerned. And there's just a lot of issues, and the Forest Service right now is gathering public comments on this, and they just had a couple open houses. And really, there's a lot of it's a one-of-a-kind situation, and I think everyone involved is being really careful to try to make sure that how this moves forward is very thoughtful and intentional.
Jason, talk about the why on this. Why did the state push so hard to take a quiet area and want to expose it to the masses, for a lack of a better phrase? It feels like that kind of Field of Dreams scenario, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what one of the residents out there said it was. And again, it goes back to, I was writing about Sweetwater back in the early 2000s when a fellow wanted to open up a water bottling plant on a creek out there, and at a spring, and he wanted to put a bunch of water. And then there was some very wealthy folks who were like, let's build private gated community golf course sort of stuff out there. And those pressures were kind of always lingering right there. So the idea that Save the Lake, there was a big Save the Lake campaign, local fundraising, school kids come out, help promote the fundraising for this thing. And the idea was that, it was time to move this into public land. And everyone sort of agreed that this is a good way to sort of eliminate that threat of private development. But then when the Forest Service came in, they said, we are the busiest national forest, White River, in the country. And, the Eagle Holy Cross is the second busiest district in the country. So behind the Dillon district over in Summit County. So there was a lot of concern that these crowds were going to come. And, you heard that over and over in these meetings with the Forest Service, hey, we're going to see crowds. We need better campgrounds. We need better toilets. We need better facilities. We need better infrastructure here. We will work to cap it and limit visitors, but, they're coming. So, the alternative that the Forest Service approves is an annual camp between 52,000, around 104,000. As many people come in, stand up paddle, boat, hike, camp, picnic, ride horses. Costs about $45 million to develop all that out. And the folks up there in the community are saying, if you build it, yes, they will come. But what if you don't? What if you just keep it kind of primitive? Will we see these kind of crowds? Is there a way to find a middle ground that is not, a development to accommodate 104,000 people a year? How about a smaller footprint sort of thing? And that's what I think this Sweetwater Working Group is what they're calling it. And they've got some concerns with, there's raptors up there that nest on one side of the lake over the cliffs. There's a Ute cave up there where the Ute people used to travel for millennia and sort of set up summer camps up there. It is a truly incredible and beautiful spot, and the hiking out of there into that wilderness area is all time. And I think there's a lot of voices coming around, as you can imagine. This is a home. Like I said, it's very rare to see Colorado Parks and Wildlife establishing a new park or something. The newest one they did down Fisher's Peak, which we've done a lot of out by Trinidad. It doesn't border a community. There's Trinidad, but it's 10 miles away. This is next to a on village, and I think those folks are really hoping that they can get their voices heard.
JB, give us next steps. The options are out there. I'm assuming we've got public comment going on. When will decisions be made and by whom?
Yeah, we got about 30 days, 60 days of public comment going on there. The folks in the community are asking that everybody, that the Forest Service take a step back, relook at some raptors, and there's some concern over access, ingress, and egress in and out on that dirt road, whether or not that should be considered for safety issues. They had the Derby fire out there last year, which we wrote a lot about, which it's difficult to get in and out of that area. But yeah, I think we're going to go through this public comment period. The folks at Sweetwater just rallied at a couple public open houses, and they're hoping to work more with the Forest Service, as well as sort of galvanize folks in both Eagle County and Garfield County, see if they can't get some more scrutiny on this plan.
Jason, before we go, you wrote about it in The Outsider last week, but tell folks a bit about the new documentary about Adam Palmer and the movie tour that's going to be going around Colorado to promote the film.
Yeah. Adam Palmer was a friend of mine. He died in an avalanche in 2021 out in San Juan's. And they've made a movie about him called The Casual Enormity of Adam Palmer. It's a sort of offshoot of the Adam Palmer Sustainability Fund, and it's really details just the extraordinary impact that Adam Palmer had. I knew him as an athlete. We would ski together, bike together, and he would never not impress me with what he was doing. We'd be hiking along, pedaling along, and of course I'm huffing and puffing, and he is chit-chatting away, and he would talk about all the different things he was doing, and I feel like I learned something new about him almost every day. And that's what this movie does, is basically show you how, starting in the 1990s, he started seeding these recycling programs, energy programs, sustainable efficiency, energy efficiency, building improvements, climate action plans, building codes, all these different things, working with the county, working with the town, working on, how we could build houses that consume less energy. Truly an amazing impact. And the movie's traveling around the state right now. And I would recommend everyone gets a chance to go see it. They're going to be at the Sheridan and Telluride, down in Boulder, Stone Church in Alma, Backdoor in Nederland, Wheeler in Aspen, Paradise in Paonia. Everybody should check it out. You can find it at the Adam Palmer Sustainability Fund, apsfund.org.
apsfund.org to find out where the shows are playing, right?
That's it.
Jason, always appreciate the time catching up with you. If you haven't already, listeners, you can check out Jason's story about Sweetwater Lake. Find that and all of our great outdoors coverage on our homepage and on that free Colorado Sun app. Jason Blevins, my friend, make it a great week.
Do the same, DK. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. And finally, here are a few stories that you should know about today.
A Colorado Sun analysis shows Colorado continues to struggle to improve its failure rate for adoptions of foster children. About 10% of adoptions each year are called off before or after they are finalized in court. More than 250 children and teenagers were returned to the child welfare system after their adoptions fell apart from 2022 to 2025. Colorado's two federally recognized tribes are pressing for a role in deciding how Colorado manages the state's public lands. The Southern Utes and the Ute Mountain Utes each want a seat on the 11-member State Parks and Wildlife Commission. They point out that there has never been a tribal representative on the commission. Colorado is among 38 states on track to see their numbers of high school graduates drop and what's likely becoming known as the enrollment cliff. Plummeting birth rates that began during the Great Recession in 2007 sent smaller waves of students through K through 12 schools. Higher education leaders say they're expecting a years-long downward trend in enrollment.
To read these stories and much more, visit our website, coloradosun.com. As an award-winning nonprofit news outlet, we take our mission of credible, independent journalism seriously, and you can check out our trust indicators at coloradosun.com/ethics. Our music is by the Denver-based Matt Skellinger Group. A link to their music is in our show notes, and a special thanks to Swallow Hill Music. I'm David Krause. See you next time.